What if I told you that you were the real prize? Not them. Not the illusion you built in your mind. The moment they walked away, they didn't take anything from you. You just forgot who you were. Right now, it might not feel that way. It probably feels like you lost something irreplaceable, like you weren't good enough, like if you had just done one thing differently, they'd still be here. But that's a lie your mind keeps whispering to you. The truth? They thought they could do better. They convinced themselves the grass was greener elsewhere. They believed they had endless options, so they left without hesitation, without second-guessing, because in their mind, you were just another chapter, not the whole book. And you? You gave them everything. You were solid, present, loyal. You gave them your time, your energy, your emotions, things you didn't just hand out to anyone. But instead of appreciating them, they took it all for granted. That's what people do when they think something will always be there. They assume they can replace it, trade it in for something newer, shinier, more exciting. But here's where they were wrong. Not every person can be replaced. Some people leave a void so deep that no one else can fill it. Some people aren't just an experience, they're a standard. And you were never just a placeholder. They just didn't see it, yet. And that is where regret comes in. Not immediately, not when they're out enjoying attention, chasing distractions, living in the illusion of infinite choices. No, regret is a slow poison. It seeps in when reality settles, when the ones they thought were upgrades turn out to be disappointments, when the attention they craved feels hollow, when they finally realize that no one else treats them the way you did. And by the time they come to this realization, it's too late. Because you're not waiting anymore. This was never about getting them back. It was never about revenge. This is about power, your power. The power that comes when you stop chasing, stop caring, stop waiting for someone to wake up and see your worth. Because when you stop seeking their validation, you become the person they regret losing. That's the real shift. That's when you win. Now you have a choice. You can sit in your pain, replaying old memories, waiting for them to come back. Or you can become untouchable, the kind of person who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, the kind of person who never truly loses, because they never truly needed them to begin with. If you're done feeling like the one who lost, if you're ready to reclaim what was always yours, stand up, move forward, become something greater than they ever expected. Number 1. Smoke and mirrors. The truth about losing them. They're gone. Now what? Your mind is running in circles, trying to make sense of it. You convince yourself that you've lost something rare, something irreplaceable, something you'll never find again. Every moment replays like a broken record. Every laugh, every touch, every whispered promise that now feels like a ghost haunting your thoughts. But here's the harsh truth. You didn't lose them. They lost you. Right now, your emotions are clouding your judgment. The silence is deafening. The absence feels like a deep, aching void. It feels like something was stolen from you, like the world just shifted beneath your feet. But what you're feeling isn't love, it's attachment. And attachment is a dangerous illusion. It tricks you into believing that your world is incomplete without them, that without this one person, everything else loses meaning. But if that were true, then why is the world still moving? The sun still rises. Time hasn't stopped. And you're still breathing. That means you still hold power. but you won't see it until you rip off the blindfold, until you stop romanticizing someone who walked away like you were replaceable. Because the reality is, they didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because they thought they had better options. They convinced themselves that something newer, shinier, more exciting was waiting for them. And in doing so, they exposed themselves, not you. They revealed exactly who they are. Someone who doesn't value loyalty. Someone who chases the rush of temporary highs instead of appreciating what's real. And now they expect you to crumble, to beg, to break yourself just to prove you were worthy all along. Because that's what most people do, isn't it? They chase what's walking away. They hand over their dignity in hopes of winning them back. They replay the past, searching for the moment it all fell apart, as if rewriting it in their head could undo reality. They give power to someone who already discarded them. But you're not most people. You don't chase what doesn't belong to you. You don't weep over someone who threw away something they'll never find again. Look at history. What is truly valuable is never desperate. Kings never begged to keep their crowns. Empires never pleaded to remain standing. The rarest diamonds aren't running after the hands that drop them. The worth is always there. It's just a matter of who recognizes it. And they didn't. That's not your burden to carry. So what now? You accept reality. You take the pain, the betrayal, the disappointment, and you forge it into something indestructible. Because once you understand that losing them wasn't really a loss, but a lesson, you unlock something dangerous, true emotional freedom. The kind of freedom that makes you immune to their absence, the kind that turns pain into power. And the moment you step into that mindset, they feel it. They notice the shift. Suddenly, you're not the weak, broken person they expected to see. You're not stuck, waiting, hoping. You are moving forward, untouched, unshaken. And nothing is more terrifying to someone who thought they had control over you than realizing they don't. So, ask yourself, was it really a loss? Or was it the best thing that ever happened to you? Number 2, the art of silence, when ignoring them speaks louder. Nothing unsettles a person more than being ignored. Indifference is the ultimate power move, the one thing they never expected from you. They thought they had you figured out. They thought you would break, that you would chase, that you would wait. But instead, you disappeared into the shadows, silent, focused, unbothered. And that silence, it speaks louder than anything you could ever say. People crave validation. That's the fuel behind most of their actions. They leave, expecting a reaction. They want to feel powerful, to believe their absence means something, to watch you struggle without them. Because when you react, you confirm it. They still hold space in your mind. They still have influence over you. That's why they do it. That's why they test you. It's never just about walking away. It's about seeing if you will follow. But when you don't react, when you move forward as if they never existed, that's when the shift happens. That's when doubt creeps into their mind. Why aren't they chasing? Why aren't they broken? Did they ever even care? The moment those questions start flooding their thoughts, the illusion they built around themselves begins to crumble. They may have miscalculated. Most people make the mistake of thinking they need to prove something, that they need to post, to flex, to show off their new life in hopes that their absence will sting. But real power, real control, it comes from doing nothing. When you stop playing the game, you take away their ability to win. It's like a magician pulling off a trick. If the audience doesn't react, the illusion fails. This is where the real weight of indifference sets in. They start checking your social media, even if they swore they never would. They start asking mutual friends about you, even if they pretend they don't care. They start wondering if you ever think about them at all. And the moment they realize you don't, that you've erased them from your mind just as easily as they tried to erase you from their life, that's when regret begins to creep in. Because here's the truth. People want to be missed. They want to believe they were special, that no matter what happened, they left a mark on you that couldn't be erased. But when they see you moving forward without hesitation, without bitterness, without a second thought, it shatters the image they had of themselves in your life. Imagine a throne. They once sat there believing they ruled over your emotions. But now, the throne is empty, and worse, it's collecting dust. You didn't replace them. You simply stopped looking in that direction. That's when it dawns on them. They were never as important as they thought they were. Indifference is your greatest weapon. Not anger, not revenge, not trying to prove a point, just silence. Because when you stop caring, they start. Let them wonder, let them question, let them feel the void you left behind. Because the second you remove them from the pedestal they never deserved, you take back the power they thought they had over you. Number 3, rise without a sound. The comeback they never saw coming. Words mean nothing. Promises, explanations, apologies, none of it matters. At the end of the day, people don't respect what they hear. They respect what they see. That's why your comeback doesn't need an announcement. No long captions, no emotional posts, no cryptic messages hoping they'll notice. You move in silence. You rebuild in the dark. And by the time they realize what's happening, it's already too late. They expect you to stay stuck in the past. They assume you're hurting, waiting, hoping for them to return. Because that's how most people react. They drown in distractions, vent to friends, replay old memories like a film they can't turn off. But they don't evolve. And because of that, the one who left assumes they made the right choice. But you're not giving them that satisfaction, because the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's not making a spectacle of your progress. It's becoming so focused on your growth that by the time they look back, they don't even recognize the person they left behind. The weak, emotional version of you, gone. The desperate, needy person they once had power over, doesn't exist anymore. In their place stands something they never expected. A person who doesn't need them, who is thriving without them, who has sharpened themselves into something unshakable. And that's when the regret sets in. Not because they suddenly love you, not because they've had some grand revelation, but because they finally see the truth. They walked away from something rare. And nothing haunts a person more than realizing they underestimated someone who was irreplaceable. Think of it like a painting. While they were busy searching for something better, they never realized they already had a masterpiece. They left, believing they could trade you in for something more exciting. But when they finally look back, they don't see the same image they once overlooked. They see something transformed, refined, untouchable. And now? Now it's behind glass, out of reach. But here's the real beauty of the silent comeback. You don't care if they regret it. You don't care if they notice, because by the time they do, you've already moved so far past them that their opinion no longer holds weight. They're watching from the sidelines of a game they thought they controlled, and you're already playing in a different league. Number 4. Regret's bitter bite. Regret isn't an immediate blow. It's a slow-burning ember that awakens when the brightness of a new beginning fades. When they walk away, they feel nothing at first. They convince themselves they made the right choice. They're excited about the fresh start, the newfound attention, and the freedom that seems to promise victory over the past. In that moment, every decision appears flawless, every step forward a triumph. As one wise soul once said, "The present dazzles, but time unveils the truth." And though they feel invincible now, reality has a subtle way of creeping in like a shadow at dusk. At the beginning, regret is almost imperceptible, a fleeting thought that flutters at the edge of consciousness. Perhaps it comes when a familiar tune stirs a memory, or when a name pops up unexpectedly in conversation. Maybe they catch a glimpse of an old photograph, and for a brief second, a pang of nostalgia makes them pause. "I'm fine," they reassure themselves, dismissing the feeling as nothing more than a random memory. They are certain they made the right call. They believe they are riding the wave of success, untouched by the past. But as time rolls on, the new faces and fleeting thrills start to lose their luster, and the initial excitement begins to dull. Then, gradually, the realization creeps in. The new connections they thought would fill the void turn out to be as shallow as mirages in a desert. The vibrant attention they once enjoyed fades like a sunset, leaving behind a dim and cold twilight. In quiet moments, when the distractions of the day subside, a truth they can no longer ignore begins to settle in. They start to question the glittering facade of their new life. Are these transient admirers really worth the depth of what was once shared? They recall how, before, they were treated with unwavering loyalty and respect, a level of connection that no superficial thrill can match. It is in these reflective, solitary hours that regret makes its most devastating entrance. They remember the steadfast presence, the solid support, and the rarity of a bond that never wavered. Now, surrounded by hollow interactions and ephemeral glimmers, they can't help but wonder, did they trade something priceless for the illusion of abundance? True value, as another familiar saying goes, cannot be measured by momentary flashes of brilliance. And so, the mind begins to wrestle with the painful truth that what was lost, the authentic, irreplaceable connection, could never be reclaimed by chasing after fleeting distractions. The sting of regret lies in its realization. What was once taken for granted now shines in stark contrast to the ephemeral alternatives. They see that the steady, dependable nature of what they once had was not a chain to be escaped, but a treasure too rare to ever be duplicated. It is as if a master artist's work, once dismissed in pursuit of modern trends, is later recognized as the only true masterpiece in a gallery of mere sketches. They begin to understand that the price of their decision is not just the loss of what was familiar, but the deep ache of having undervalued it until it was irretrievably gone. Now, in a moment of unvarnished clarity, the painful irony sets in. They can't turn back. They had assumed there was plenty of time to correct the course, that they would always have a safety net of love and loyalty to fall back on. But when they search for what once was, no messages, no lingering signs of the unwavering support they once knew, they find nothing but silence. The absence is absolute, a void that echoes with the memory of what was and what might have been. And in that emptiness, they grasp the harsh lesson. The opportunity to hold on to something truly valuable has slipped away forever. Regret, then, is not the explosive burst of emotion in the moment of parting. It is the slow, creeping awareness that in chasing after something less substantial, they abandoned a depth of connection that can never be recaptured. It's a bittersweet reckoning, a realization that what they left behind was far more significant than the transient allure of new pursuits. They come to see that the true loss isn't measured by the gap in their social feed or the echo of empty celebrations, but by the irreplaceable comfort of a bond that no longer exists. In the end, regret is a relentless echo in the corridors of memory, a reminder that the chase for novelty often blinds us to the genuine treasures we already possess. It is the final, lingering note of a song, once sung with passion and care, now reduced to a haunting refrain that underscores every hollow moment of solitude. And when that echo finally resounds, it brings with it the crushing truth. They traded permanence for a fleeting spark, and by the time they understand the magnitude of what was lost, it's already too late to reclaim the irreplaceable. Number 5. Nerves of steel. Emotional control is power, and the moment you allow anyone to shake your resolve, you hand over the reins of control without even realizing it. When you react impulsively, every emotion becomes a signal that you're still vulnerable, still under their sway. They left, not because you weren't enough, but because they craved a reaction, a chase, a plea, a sign of weakness that confirmed their ability to unsettle you. Consider the image of a calm lake disturbed by a single thrown stone. If the ripples spread unchecked, they reveal your disturbance. But if the lake remains mirror still, no ripple dares betray its serenity. As the old adage reminds us, he who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. In mastering your emotions, you become that warrior who transforms every attempted disruption into a reaffirmation of inner strength. They might have expected you to break under pressure, to raise your voice in desperation, or even to bend your own boundaries in an effort to regain what was lost. Instead, you choose silence over clamor, like a seasoned captain steering a ship through a raging storm, trusting in the strength of the vessel rather than succumbing to the chaos of the sea. You maintain a cool detachment that defies their expectations. You don't reach out with pleading words or frantic actions. Instead, your silence speaks a language far more eloquent than any boastful claim could ever convey. You are not the person who chases after every slight or tries to fill every gap with empty noise. Instead, you stand as a monument to resilience, and that unwavering calm is your true victory. You might ask yourself, what if my silence is misunderstood as indifference or coldness? Am I not at risk of being seen as unresponsive? Yet the reality is that the calm you exude is not the absence of care, but a profound assertion of self-respect. It is akin to the quiet dignity of a statue that endures through the ages, immune to the fleeting whims of time. This stoic demeanor becomes a silent challenge. They no longer know how to reach you, how to decipher your next move. Their usual tactics, pushing, pulling, creating chaos, now meet an impenetrable barrier. When they try to manipulate you, they find that you are as inscrutable as a sealed vault, leaving them to question, did they ever truly care? How can one remain so unyielding? Their confusion is the very evidence of your inner fortitude. Many falter by reacting with anger or despair, their emotions betraying them in the way a shipwreck reveals its hull after a storm. But you choose a different path, one where every unshaken moment adds to your armor. Think of a mighty oak that stands tall in the midst of a tempest, its roots dug deep into the earth, unmovable by the winds that rage around it. That oak is you, unmoved by the passing storms of provocation, unshaken by the transient efforts of those who try to unsettle you. The real measure of strength lies not in outward displays of power, but in the silent mastery of one's inner world, where every beat of your heart remains steady and every thought resolute. In this unyielding state, the uncertainty you create becomes your most powerful weapon. They no longer have the comfort of predicting your reactions or steering your emotions like a marionette. Instead, they are left to grapple with an enigma, a presence that defies easy categorization. As the legendary philosopher once said, "Silence is the loudest reply." When you refuse to engage in their petty attempts at provocation, you force them into a state of self-doubt, and that uncertainty slowly erodes the power they once wielded over you. They start questioning their own strategies, wondering why nothing they do seems to break your steadfast composure. The more they try, the more they are met with an impenetrable calm that leaves them floundering in a sea of their own doubts. This unshakable frame is not about suppressing emotion or becoming aloof. It is about cultivating an inner strength that renders external chaos powerless. It is a demonstration that real strength is measured not by how loudly you can shout, but by how quietly you can endure. Picture the ancient samurai, whose silence on the battlefield was as potent as the swift strike of their sword. Each measured breath a testament to discipline and honor. In your journey, each moment of calm is a deliberate act of rebellion against the expectation that you should react. You have chosen a path where your dignity is preserved, where your worth is defined not by the fleeting opinions of others, but by your own unwavering self-belief. And so, as you stand with nerves of steel, you become the very embodiment of control. Their attempts to shake you, to evoke a desperate response, all fall flat against the fortress of your composed spirit. In that quiet defiance lies a profound truth. You command your own destiny. Their efforts to unsettle you become nothing more than echoes in the wind, lost in the vast expanse of your inner calm. Ultimately, the real power lies in knowing that while they might have expected you to crumble, you have instead risen above, untouched, unyielding, and completely in charge of your own fate. Number 6. The shadow. They can't ignore. Predictability is the death of desire. The moment someone believes they have you all figured out, they stop seeing you as something to be valued. And that's exactly what happened. They knew where you stood, how much you cared, and that you would always be there. That certainty made it easy for them to walk away, to take you for granted, because they assumed they had nothing left to discover. But human nature is wired for curiosity. People don't chase what they fully understand. They chase what remains just out of reach. The unknown pulls at the mind like an unsolved puzzle. It lingers, unsettles, keeps them searching for missing pieces. What's unknown creates curiosity. Curiosity creates obsession. And obsession is what makes someone think about you even when they don't want to. That's why mystery is one of the most powerful forces you can cultivate. It's not about playing games or withholding who you are. It's about understanding that scarcity breeds value. When you stop explaining, stop revealing, stop allowing yourself to be an open book, something shifts. They start wondering, why aren't they reacting? What are they thinking? Do they even care at all? And once those questions take root, they don't stop. Imagine a locked door. As long as it remains open, it's ignored, taken for granted. But the moment it closes, the moment access is denied, it suddenly becomes something intriguing, something people want to look behind. That's the effect you create when you refuse to be predictable. You become the locked door, the unanswered question, the thing they suddenly need to figure out. And that's when their mind turns against them. The certainty they once had about you, gone. The idea that they knew exactly where you stood, shattered. Now, they're searching for answers, paying attention, trying to decode every move, every silence. They look for clues, but they find nothing. No emotional outbursts, no desperate attempts to explain yourself, no traces left behind to show them they still matter. And that emptiness, it unsettles them in a way they didn't expect. It creates a shift, not just in how they see you, but in how they feel about their own choices. Because the moment you become a mystery, you become valuable again. It's a cruel trick of the mind. What is known is discarded, but what is uncertain demands attention. The rarest gems are the ones that are hardest to find. The most desired people are the ones who hold something back. The less you give, the more they want. The moment you stop proving, stop explaining, stop reacting, you take back the power they thought they had over you. And now, they can't ignore the shadow you left behind, the presence that lingers without a single word. Because the less they know, the more they think about you. And the more they think about you, the harder it becomes to forget. Number 7. What's rare is revered. Scarcity breeds value. What is always within reach is overlooked, while what is rare is sought after, admired, and even worshipped. This is where most people falter. They give too much, too easily. Their time, their energy, their emotions are poured out without a second thought. And in doing so, they become common, predictable, always available. And the moment someone realizes they can have you whenever they please, the moment they no longer have to wonder if you're still there, is the moment they stop valuing you. That's why they walked away without hesitation. It wasn't because you weren't enough. It wasn't because they had something better waiting for them. It was because they assumed you would always be there. They convinced themselves that you would always be an option, a safety net in case their choices didn't work out. They believed you were replaceable, and because of that assumption, leaving was easy. There was no fear, no hesitation, just the confidence that if they ever wanted you back, all they had to do was reach out. But then, something unexpected happened. You disappeared. No messages, no lingering presence, no signs of waiting in the background. You didn't just pull away, you became a ghost. And in that silence, they felt something they never anticipated: loss. Because suddenly, you were not an option. You were not standing in place, waiting. You were not lingering, hoping, suffering in the shadows. You were gone. And that absence became louder than anything you could have ever said. The void left behind was unsettling. They started to realize they had miscalculated, that what they thought was replaceable was in fact rare. That finding someone like you isn't easy. That maybe, just maybe, they let go of something they should have held on to. This is the essence of scarcity. It's why people chase what they can't have. It's why an item locked behind glass feels more valuable than one sitting in the clearance aisle. The moment something becomes unavailable, its worth is reassessed. It's no longer about appreciation. It's about absence. They don't suddenly realize your value because they've had an epiphany. They realize it because they can no longer have what they once ignored. Regret doesn't come from what is lost. It comes from what can no longer be regained. But here's the part that changes everything. You don't let them back in, not because of anger, not because of revenge, but because by the time they finally recognize your worth, you've outgrown them. The person they once knew, the one who would have waited, hoped, and welcomed them back, is gone. In their place stands someone who has already moved forward, someone who now understands their own value, and nothing is more powerful than being the one who got away. Number 8. Where focus goes, power flows. Energy is power, and for too long you've been giving yours away without realizing it. Think about it. How much of your time, focus, and emotions were spent on them? How many hours did you lose analyzing their words, their actions, their silence? How many times did their choices dictate your mood, your self-worth, your peace? And where did that get you? Drained, empty, wasted, like pouring water into a broken vessel. No matter how much you gave, it was never enough. But here's the truth. Energy doesn't disappear. It only transfers. And right now, you have a choice. You can keep pouring your energy into someone who walked away, or you can take it back and redirect it into something that actually matters, yourself. The moment you make that shift, everything changes. Instead of thinking about them, you focus on your goals. Instead of wasting time scrolling through their social media, you invest in yourself. You hit the gym. You build your business. You expand your mind. Instead of replaying the past like a song stuck on repeat, you create a future so powerful that by the time they look back, you're already light years ahead. And here's the twist. The moment you stop feeding them with your energy, they feel it. The attention they once took for granted, gone. The validation they assumed would always be there, vanished. That subconscious pull that kept them comfortable, knowing you were still lingering in the background, silenced. And that's when the regret starts creeping in. Because now, for the first time, they have to face a reality where they are no longer the center of your world. But by then, it doesn't even matter to you, because the real win was never about making them regret it. The real win was in becoming untouchable. The moment you stopped giving your energy away, you became the person you were always meant to be. The kind of person who doesn't chase, who doesn't look back, who doesn't need anyone to recognize their worth, because they already know it. Think of a fire. It can burn aimlessly, flickering and unpredictable, or it can be controlled, directed, used to forge something indestructible. Your energy is no different. Where focus goes, power flows. And the second you turn that power inward, you don't just move on, you rise. Number 9. Power returns to the one who lets go. You don't chase, you attract. That's the rule. For too long, you were caught in the cycle of waiting, hoping, reacting. You gave away your power by seeking closure, by wanting validation, by looking for signs that maybe, just maybe, they'd see your worth. But now the power shifts. Now, you're not looking back. You're not waiting for explanations. You're not searching for second chances. You are the one in control. And the moment you step into that mindset, they feel it. Not in words, not in some dramatic realization, but in a way they can't quite explain. Because here's the truth. People can sense when they no longer hold space in your mind. They can feel when their presence no longer carries weight in your world. Not when you're pretending, not when you're playing games, but when you genuinely stop caring, when you truly move on. And that's when something strange happens. They start thinking about you, wondering about you, watching from a distance. They won't admit it, but they'll feel the void. Because where once stood someone they took for granted, now there's only silence. And silence is louder than words. It forces them to sit with their own choices. That's when regret sets in. Because now they see the truth. You never needed them. They were an experience, not a necessity. A moment, not your mission. And by the time they realize what they lost, you've already become someone they no longer have access to. That's the return of power. Not because they regret it, not because they want to come back, but because it no longer matters to you. You've already won. Not through revenge, not by proving anything, but by becoming the person they thought didn't exist. Some people are lessons, not losses. They believed you were just another option. They thought replacing you would be easy, that moving on wouldn't require a second thought, that there was always something better waiting just around the corner. But now they know the truth. Now they feel the weight of their choice, the regret, the emptiness, the slow, creeping realization that no one else treats them the way you did, that what they thought was common was actually rare. And here's the part that truly stings. By the time they realize it, you're already gone. That's the final lesson. They weren't your loss. They were your lesson. A reminder to never give your power away. A wake-up call that revealed who you really are, because the version of you that once needed them. That person no longer exists. You evolved. You built yourself into something greater than they ever expected. And now, they're the one left wondering. But the difference is, you don't care. Because real power isn't in making them regret it. Real power is in never needing them to. The real win isn't them coming back. It's you moving forward so far that even if they do, they're irrelevant. And that's the truth. They thought they had all the time in the world. They thought they could do better. They thought someone like you could be replaced. But now they see the reality. Some people can't be replaced. Some losses can't be undone. And some regrets last a lifetime. But you don't wait for them to realize it. You don't sit around hoping they come back. You don't care if they ever figure it out. Because by the time they do, you've already moved past the version of yourself that wanted them to. You've built yourself into something greater, stronger, untouchable. And that's the real win.